everyone, welcome to Holtzfelder Woodworking. My name is Allan. While I remodel my house, I will be making some smaller projects along the way. And I will include those here. Like this, for example. Christmas is coming. Maybe. Depends on when you're watching this, actually. But for me, it's like a week away. And this year, I wanted to make my own gifts. I wanted something simple, something fast, something I can do right here in the shop, and something that you can do at home. So of course, we're making the magnetic bottle opener. Now, fun fact, I actually invented the magnetic bottle opener right after I saw it on the internet about 7,000 times. So admittedly, my timing could have been better. I have some beach left over from the face frames in my mudroom project, so I think I can squeeze about 10 bottle openers out of this. But I didn't know exactly what I wanted it to look like, so I whipped up a sample using some scrap MDF. Now, I know what you're thinking. MDF is awesome. It's great for making little samples to see how things should look, or if you want to maybe scrape something off the bottom of your shoe, MDF, great for that. That's about it. That's about the end of it. But this is what I came up with. This is about the size we want. Just some simple 45s on the corners, nice beveled chamfer on the front. And so I'm going to make 10 of these out of that. This is rough sawn lumber that I had already planed down, but I still need to establish one straight, square edge. And I get great results with the track saw. I use that edge against the table saw fence and rip to width. So it turns out when I cut the width at 10 centimeters, I have exactly enough stock to make 6 units. So I was able to salvage 4 more by cutting the rest to 8 centimeters. Now I probably could have made all 10 had I made them all 9 centimeters wide and had 10 identical units, which would make my life easier. But ultimately, they're going to 10 different homes, so no one's really going to tell. Next up, we're going to cut them to length on the Kappsäge. First, I square off one end of the board. Since all 10 of these will be identical in height, the best way to achieve repeatable cuts is to set up a simple stop block. Make sure to butt the squared off end against the stop block, and then giddy up. To keep things simple, I like to give everything a quick sanding before any corners or bevels are added. I want to add 45s on the corners, so I set up the miter gauge and use another stop block. Once all 40 corners are done, it's time to add, well, actually subtract, I guess, the chamfer on the face. The router table makes quick work of this. The trick here is to keep your fingers away from the bit. We're going to mount the bottle opening hardware here at the top of the piece, but we want to catch the bottle caps here, down towards the bottom. To do that, we're going to use a couple of rare earth magnets, which I think should do the trick. And we're going to cut a channel in the back and mount that as close to the surface as we can, and then glue it down and fill it in, whatever we're gonna do. Now there's a couple different ways we can cut that channel. The easiest and probably the safest is to use a Forstner bit on the drill press and just drill multiple holes. That's gonna be effective, but a little sloppy. The other option is on the router table, we can cut a nice channel, which will allow me to fill it in later. So I think we're gonna go with option B, the router table. I like to use a scrap piece to mock up my layout ahead of time. Figure out the positioning of the bottle opener hardware, and then the location of the channel in relation to that. It needs to be far enough down that the bottle cap can come loose from the opener, but not so far that it is moving too fast to be snagged. Find the center and then the stop and start points. We only need to do this on one of the units because we're going to set the fence and make marks on the router table. We want the channel to be as deep as possible so the magnet is near the surface. However, this is a very deep cut. Far too risky to do all at once, especially with harder woods. I'm going to do this in multiple passes, getting incrementally deeper. Hey, it fits. And it grabs the bottle cap. Once it's mounted to the wall, we will never see the back. But I'd like to still fill the channel as best I can. So I cut some thin strips from the leftover stock and round the edges over with the sander. Insert the magnet and then use a liberal amount of glue before popping the strip into place. Once it's dry, sand it flat. I prefer not to see any screws, so we're going to mount this on the wall using a keyhole bit. I find beech to be pretty boring on its own, so I'm going to stain these. In fact, it's so boring, it's not even in focus. Once that's dry, I add a couple coats of lacquer. To mount the hardware, I measure the center for the top screw, but not the bottom one. That one I eyeball. It wasn't made in Switzerland, so I can't really count on its symmetry. For me, it's much more important for it to be visually perpendicular than mathematical. Make sure to sign the back and add the year you made it. And voila, 10 bottle openers with magnet. Froy Weihnachten, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you next time.